I'm Liz Larson.
And I'm Bill McKenna.
And together, we created the Cogno Movement System. And we'd like to welcome you to the New Life Perspectives radio show,
where we're going to be sharing with you tools, tips, and ideas that are going to change your life.
Hello in UK Health Radio land. I am Liz Larson. I am here with
Bill McKenna.
Did you figure your name there for a second, Bill? We are the team from Cogno Movement, but we are also the hosts of the New Life Perspectives radio show here on the UK Health Radio. So Bill and I decided that we're going to have some fun today, and we're going to call this episode the High Strangeness episode. So for those of you who don't know us well, Bill and I are just straight up a couple of weirdos, and a lot of weird stuff has happened in our life. So we're going to share with you some of our strangest and coolest stories, right, Bill?
Yeah, well, I just think that it is worth sharing the truth with everyone of things that have happened that one would think were just impossible, but now are actual real reality. I don't take drugs. I'm not into psychedelics or anything else at all. So it's none of that type stuff. But reality, I guess, shifts when you change your understanding. I know that sounds super strange, but it's true. There are dimensions that we enter through our thoughts and feelings. So the easiest way I can start to give people an understanding of kind of the entry point of into these other realities is in your own life experience. When you, for example, were very angry, right? Everybody's been angry in their life, and things not going well, things breaking, that sort of thing. And then there have been other times when you have been in a state of wonder, joy, or excitement. How many people, back in the day, maybe you went to a party, right? And you weren't expecting the time to be so fun. And all kinds of great things happened. Everything just worked together. And it was just the best time out of nowhere. Well, you entered into kind of a different reality in both cases, right? In both cases, there was kind of a very different reality.
Yeah, it sure feels that way, right?
Right. And there are people out there that in their presence, things shift, things change, and kind of the normal rules of life seem to no longer apply. And I had one of these that I was reminded of a little while ago. It happened probably almost a decade ago, where I worked in downtown San Diego, and there was this homeless person. His name was Timothy, and Timothy was a Black man, probably somewhere in his late 60s, early 70s. He was very frail, and he only had 2 teeth that I could see. But when I walked by Timothy, there was something about him that just drew me to him. Now, he smelled to the high heavens, and but still, he had need food, or, so I was like, hi, it's like, hi, what's your name? It's Timothy, is it, you need food? And he said, yeah. I said, what do you like? He said, oh, I like, Ralph's fried chicken. And Ralph's is a grocery store that's here in San Diego and California. And so, I said, okay, all right, I'll get you some fried chicken. I said goodbye, and I told him I'd be back in 45 minutes or so. And I went down, got him a bunch of fried chicken in a bag, and I brought it back, and we just had a talk. And everything about him was so interesting. He had this really pronounced feeling of peace and love that came through when you talked to him, and a very practical wisdom. He would talk about things in very practical terms that were the underlying principle was compassion, forgiveness, understanding, acceptance. These principles that we all aspire to. He also had this kind of glassy look in his eyes. His eyes were like glass. And I really enjoyed just hanging around talking to him. I got used to the smell after a little while, but I just kind of enjoyed talking to him. And every, maybe week or two, I'd find him on the street. Hey, Timothy, what's going on? And just hang out, talk. Maybe I go and get him some chicken, and we just talk for a while. And I always had this wonderful feeling. And I knew Timothy was, an evolved being, but I didn't even understand how evolved. I was still one day, I was standing there talking to him, and a hummingbird, it flew in between us. It went over to a tree just over my shoulder, and he put his finger out in between us like a perch. And the hummingbird came over and just landed right on his finger in between us. And I was like, the master has revealed himself. And it was such a profound feeling of peace and love. And I just kind of treasure that memory of Timothy. And anyway, I have no idea where Timothy went, never saw him again, but that was it. That
Did
was
he
the
say
gift.
anything when the hummingbird landed on the finger? Did
He was just smiling.
say
He
anything?
I probably had a bunch of expletives. Like, I was like, holy cow, but I was in awe, and he was just smiling with those shiny black eyes. It was a beautiful moment.
Wow. And what's amazing? You hear stories similar around the world, right? Like Jesus as a hitchhiker kind of a thing. And it seems like it's not an uncommon story, even though it's miraculous and amazing that this is happening. These, like you say, a master showing up in the body of a homeless man. It's incredible.
It really is. It really was. And so easily it would have been for me to pass by, this guy, because, it's like, oh my God, the smell, that type of thing. So for some reason, I caught that, he caught my attention, and we knew each other for a while, and then he was gone.
So I have a question, a follow-up question. My reporter is coming out. Do you recall, I know it's been a while ago, do you recall what might have been happening in your life just before that? Do you think you were reaching for a master or looking for that love and compassion that Timothy showed? Can you remember?
Oh, certainly. Wow, it's really great perception that you have there. I'm on the journey just like everybody else, and working on being compassionate and understanding. And it's a work in progress, So certainly having an example of that was really beneficial, especially, cloaked, right? I
Yeah.
come cloaked looking like this, and he came cloaked looking like that. Which leads me, you just drew another line in between two different, completely separate events that, now that I think about it, may in fact really be the same lesson from different places. And this other story happened right here again in San Diego, California. And I was driving down Rosecrans Avenue, and it was summertime. It was kind of hot. I had all the windows rolled down, and I noticed on the very across three lanes of traffic, I noticed a guy as I was stopped waiting at the traffic light, a guy with a sign, one of those, need money, need food, type deal. And I remember I was like, oh, I'm going to give that guy $1. And I waved him over, at that light. I was like, come on over, lights, and I reached in my pocket and I reached in for $1 bill. But I pulled out a 20 accidentally. And this guy is halfway to me, and I've got the $20 bill in my hand. He can't see it, but I'm there. I'm like, oh my God, that's $20. I was like, well, Bill, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to make it his lucky day. And I was like, wow, that's $20. Okay, can do it. So he comes over, and I'm smiling, and I give him the $20. And so many times when you give a homeless person change or stuff, they're not looking at you in the eye. You're not looking them in the eye. It's just, there's a perfunctory thank you. It's like, God bless you, and not connected. But we really connected. I gave him the $20, and I was looking in his eye, and he looked at me, and he was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. $20. Wow. And he was so excited. And in that excitement, I was like, I saw the genuine connectedness and excitement that he had. And I was so happy for him. I can still remember him walking across the street. And I thought to myself, that little piece of paper gave him so much joy. And I was looking at him. He got to the other side of the street. I could hear him all the way across the 3 lanes. I'm out of here. Thank you. And I felt so happy for him in that moment. And I thought to myself, you know what? He might go out and buy a 6-pack. Maybe he'll get himself some vodka. And I was like, I don't care. If that little piece of vodka or something, whatever is going to give him 15 minutes of relief of his pain and make him feel good, I'm not going to judge it. I'm just so happy that he found joy. Well, that's good enough. But as it turns out, it appears that there's more than one dimension that is noticing what's going on. And I know this sounds crazy, but as I pulled away, it was as if an 18-wheeler was in front of me that was open and filled with roses. And I mean, that's how intense the smell was. There was so much rose. It was like, what? It was the craziest thing. I was filled with joy about this thing for the $20. And the whole way home, every stop, every homeless person, they all get $20. I was like, everybody getting $20. It felt great.
You
I
were
was like,
Oprah for the day. You get $20 and you get $20.
I was Oprah. Yeah. And you know what? I can understand Oprah's joy, right? That's a lot of joy that she gets from that, and connectedness. Anyway, I get home, and where I live, there's the predominant ocean air. The ocean wind is constantly blowing, and it was blowing roses. All the smell of roses, and it's kind of confusing, right? When you're out in the middle of nowhere and the just roses. I park my car on the alley, and we have another car. It's behind the house, but we only have one space. So I walk down the boardwalk to go in the front door. And at this point, my daughter, was probably maybe 1 year old or something like that. And I walk in the front door, and immediately my wife is like, "We don't have any milk." And I was like, "Oh God," and you want to make sure that's taken care of. So I literally didn't say anything. I just walked right through the house and opened the back door to go get in the car to go get milk. And as soon as I opened the back door, I walked out the back door, and about, maybe 40 yards, no, not 40, maybe 20 yards, 25 yards away, there was, in the middle of the alley, there's nothing around, but there was an explosion, a literal explosion of, it was like a transformer, a blue-white light blew. It was boom, and it was that fast. And the smell of roses then was even more intensified. It was like, anyway, it was incredible. And it was such a wonderful, odd experience. I was kind of evaluating it after, and with this evaluation, I was like, it's about the connection, Bill. It's about, really, you can give somebody $100 and be, kind of like, whatever, get a job, but the no judgment, the connection, the feeling of love, of compassion, of joy for the other person, of that sort of thing, and giving another person joy, that is the juice. That is what is my particular lesson was to be.
Yeah, it's an amazing, cool story. And you never know, it sounds like there's a possibility that guy said, I'm out of here. Maybe it was the extra $20 he needed to do to buy his bus ticket home. Like, who knows? But it sounds like it turned into this, just hours of joyful experience, and so oftentimes, and I don't know if this is true for you, but a lot of people associate the roses with Mother Mary, the presence of Mary. Have you ever heard that?
Actually, I did. I contacted this one of my teachers, and they said, "Yep, well, that's about what happens every time when she shows up." Yeah. So anyway, that was kind of cool.
It's so cool. Those are such beautiful stories. I love those. So I'll switch gears just a tiny bit. And I don't know, I'm sure I've mentioned many times, because I'm always talking about it, that, we took people on retreat to Sicily in the past, and that's where my family is. So I've spent a lot of time there. And this one summer was a huge summer. It actually was the summer that you and I met. I'd gone on a trip to Mount Shasta, which is interesting because we're doing that at the end of October as well. We're leading a retreat to Mount Shasta. Talk about a full circle moment. And about 6 weeks or 8 weeks after that, there was this trip to Sicily. And both of these trips had to do with, it seemed like something about the land. something about the place. Well, now because of our evidence that we found at Blind Frog Ranch, we kind of know there really is an effect that the land can have on you. So I was in Sicily, and it was in that end of September, early October, and the storm season had come early. So we're there, and every night these huge thunderstorms would build all throughout the day and then just explode at night, which is usually okay, right? In the middle of the night, what are you doing? You enjoy the thunderstorm, but everything's fine the next day. Well, this trip, these storms were building up and just blowing up during the day. You've got this hot wind out of Africa and the Mediterranean Sea. And so we're trying to go places. We're trying to visit monuments. We're trying to go to beaches. We had a ferry to catch to get across the water. And that's no good in the middle of a tempest, a big storm. So while we were there, we started just to play, just playing, right? What's in Sicily? You know, the gods and the goddesses, the Roman and Greek gods are prevalent there. And, you know, you might visit the Temple of Venus or Jupiter or, you know, Apollo, any of them. The temples are everywhere. So we started to play. And I started to get this idea that what if we asked Zeus, because he's the one managing the thunder, right? To just move that storm off for 2 hours. If the storm was moved off for 2 hours, then we'd have our time at the beach or we'd get across the ferry. So we got our group together. There was 8 of us. And we said, you know, why don't we just gently and playfully say, hey, you know, Zeus, we really enjoying this place you got going on here. It's gorgeous, but we'd really like to enjoy it after the storm or before the storm. And we literally started moving these thunderstorms. So whatever time we needed, we'd decide the amount. And that's how long before the storm would hit. So we would make it. Well, one was in the island of Lipari. So there's 2 big stories with that one. We bent time for one to get on that ferry because we were going to be a half an hour late. And then
you're going to have to tell that story.
I'll tell that one.
Okay, tell that story right after. I want because this is all related. Tell
and
that
then,
story.
So and then you know we had the ferry. If we missed it, there are so few ferries that go across in September. If we missed it, you know that was going to be a major problem. So weather and time was a big deal. So we just kept asking, you know, hey Zeus, what if we move that storm out? And then we would also visualize the storm gently moving beyond, because we still wanted to experience these storms. They're so beautiful, but want to move the time. So as we moved around this island for 14 days, a storm never actually interfered with anything we were doing. It would come before or after. We would get to enjoy it and still get to do the work. We were doing transformational work, a set called Meet the Body Process. And so we were doing that, and it was outdoors or swimming or being on the ferry. And so the whole time. And one of the gals in our group who was not particularly involved in spiritual things or visualization or anything, she in particular got very, very good at moving the weather for us. She was just really great at it. So that was amazing fun. Another time we were in Italy, we moved a storm into Rome because it was so horrifically hot. We were dying. There was no chance of more weather, no chance of storms, no chance of clouds anywhere on the horizon. But we really needed one because we were melting. And if you're a woman and you're walking around in skirts and whatever, and you're sweaty, you know it's not good. So we, on a trip, it took us 4 hours to get there. And on that trip, we created a storm, clouds that would create breeze off the ocean and a little sprinkle that cooled everything down. So possible to move the weather for sure.
That is awesome. Tell us about when you bent time. Tell us about that.
Okay, so we were heading from a town called Taormina, which is this beautiful little gem on the east side of Sicily. And from there to get to a town called Milazzo, where the ferries are, it should take about an hour and a half. Well, it's a single coastal road, so we planned for plenty of time. We had 2.5 or even 3 hours. But on the way there, we're driving a 15-passenger van. On the way there, we ended up with road construction. Now, if anybody has ever been to Italy, Italian road construction is not good. It's not like we have it here. They'll start in the middle, leave it for 6 months. Maybe somebody will come back out one day and move something around, but things don't happen in an orderly fashion. So we're waiting, for this road construction. Then we got to a toll booth that who knows what the heck was going on there, but it took forever. So now we are an hour from we're an hour, or yeah, I think we're about an hour from the ferry. Now you have to get on the ferry, drive on the ferry. You have to be there in time. Like you just can't show up willy-nilly whenever. So I can see by how long it's going to take us, we are going to be about a half an hour late to this ferry, 20 minutes to a half an hour. So I teach everybody, this is Bill's method that I probably heard from him earlier that year, that summer. And so I said, everybody, we're just going to visualize ahead, getting to the ferry. We're going to be early. There's not going to be a lot of people there. We're going to drive right in, unload the ferry. On the ferry, we're going to have plenty of time. So we needed to be there. I think it was 5:00. And by the looks of things, it was going to be, 5:30 at least.
So there is that piece of the puzzle to the method, because you learned it way back in the day. I'll tell everybody about it. And this is what I talked about earlier when we started this conversation, was that we enter these different dimensions or states of reality in different feelings. So this particular discovery was one where I knew that the fourth dimension time was malleable. And I also knew that the entry point into one of the entry points into the fourth dimension is gratitude. And so that was the condition. So I'm sure that, having just learned it, you put everybody into a state of gratitude, set the intention of when you were to be there, and no longer looked at the clock. The clock is the rule, and the rules in the third dimension are time, as everybody knows it today, is linear time. So anyway, that was kind of the setup for the rest of the story. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So nobody look at your clock were the rules. And to see ourselves, getting there in plenty of time. And the big deal was for me, because I was the leader of this retreat, and it could really have gotten me very wound up that what in the world am I going to do with all these people if we get to Milazzo and we can't get on the ferry, because there was not another one until the next day. It caused all kinds of trouble. So I immediately released that feeling, just released it, and saw us arriving in so much joy and fun. And I don't know if I've ever told you this part, Bill, but in Sicily, the men have a certain look about them. They're kind of cute. And there was a lot of single women on this trip. So I said to them, I started to describe what the guys look like in their uniforms so that they would be picturing, they're the cute guys helping us, all these ladies, onto the ferry, right? So I think that helped, but I'm not sure. But mostly it was me letting go of the story that we were going to be late and there was going to be all these problems, just being in pure bliss and pure joy of the experience, because the drive is beautiful. All of it's beautiful. Letting go of any attachment to the outcome. So when we get there, right, I don't know if I looked at the clock or not. I might have or not when we got there. I think I didn't, but we get there And it's this funny way that you have to get in there, and it's a little stressful. People, the Italians drive like crazy people. We get in there and there's no one around. No one. And my stomach sinks a little, like, oh gosh, I think we missed it. Right. And you could see the ferries, but is it our ferry? So we get out, you have to go into this office. We get out, get the tickets, and they say, no, we're early. We're early. And I checked the time to see if I had misunderstood when we were supposed to be there, and we were not. It was still that 5:00. We drive in, we're first in line to get on this ferry. Plenty of time to unpack. Very, very cute guys unloading and helping all these ladies. So we not only avoided being late, but we were there early and very relaxed and fun. And it was so much fun for this group to get to have, that particular experience of being not only not late, but early.
And having some great visuals.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. In fact, on that trip, we got ourselves a Mascot. There was a guy on there who just found this. I think there weren't a lot of people on the ferry. Again, it was late in the season. And there was this guy on there that just found us so fascinating and wanted to talk to everybody and gave us they use old soda bottles and they fill it with their own wine that they make. And they gave us that, and he gave us that, and he showed us around the town. And, we had a great time. It was great fun.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful.
I'll tell you one more quick reality bender. It's really fast. And this is a recent one from 2 days ago. I walked in my front door, and at my front door, I have a spiral fountain. It's very beautiful, kind of a Zen fountain thing. And we put crystals in there. All of my family does. There's some spheres and some other pieces of crystal from around if we find them. And so it's at the door. And as I walked back in the door at like 9:00 the night before, I realized that it was starting to be dry. It had been a hot day and the water evaporated. I didn't want the pump to dry out, but it wasn't desperate enough that I needed to do it right then. So the next morning I walk out the door and I'm in a hurry. And I look and I see, man, that fountain is almost, there's no water running, but it's a little damp. So, there's water in it, and I thought, dang, I need to fill that because the pump's going to go bad, but I couldn't do it that minute. But I realized it was important. There was no one else home, no one else at the house. I came back home about an hour and a half later with the intention to get out of the car and get the hose and fill it. It was full. I have no idea how it got full. No one claims to have done it. There wasn't anybody home to do it. But in that hour and a half, my intention for that to be filled. So it's amazing how quickly reality can shift.
Well, this what you're talking about is when you are living in a state of acceptance and love and gratitude, your thoughts become reality. And it is very odd when it first starts happening, right? Because most of us don't live there, right? We've got a lot of fear and doubt. There's everybody's angry about this and that and afraid, and we're trying to survive and these sorts of things. So you're not thinking about gratitude so much. But my encouragement here is to consider entering these states, and with that, reality can shift really quickly. I got to tell you the story that I just love. And this is regarding this particular teacher of mine. And this particular teacher, everybody was telling her that you need to build this labyrinth on the property, for people to use. It's a great tool to help them to change their mind. And it's like, yeah. Well, anyway, uh, um, some people actually even donated some bricks. And one day there was a guest who came over and asked, "Hey, what are those bricks for down there?" "Oh, I had built a labyrinth, but I went to the city and they referred me over to the state, and there was about probably 4-inch thick contracts, forms that had to be filled out, everything from permits to build on an aqueduct to, you name it. But because of the location, there were so many things. And so she's talking to the gentleman, and she says, "Yeah, we need an expert, who's certified in, aqueduct construction." And he's like, "Oh, I happen to have that certification."
Oh
And
my
he's
gosh.
like, "Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, well, and they also need, an electrician, that's I'm certified, I've got my license, and a contract. Yeah, I did. I got that too. And a geologic survey license, la la la. Yeah, I have that. I'm one of those." And all this list right down is, "Hey, can you let me see that contract? All the papers and all that stuff." And hands over, like I say, about 4-inch thick papers. He's like, "I think maybe I'll take a look at this." you know and anyway, he takes a look at it all, and he says, "Yeah, I got it all filed. I did it all." So he did all the paperwork, got everything done, filled it all out, got it all done. And then he's like, "Oh, yeah, well, I'm with a construction company too, so all the things, right? The backhoes, the cement, the sort of thing. Oh yeah, all the equipment. Yeah, I can get all that." And she ain't got no money. She's like, "Okay." And next thing you know, it's like, you know, all these guys show up, and heavy equipment shows up. And anyway, this whole job gets done. The whole thing gets done. And anyway, it comes time when it's all done and complete, that um, uh, he says, he calls and says, "Hey, I know you got that ceremony and everything of the dedication, but I got to go out of town, la, 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 that sort of thing. I got to go out of town, but have a great time, have a great party." Is, "Oh, darn it. Okay. Well, anyway, she calls up the next week, and the phone's disconnected. And then she remembered the name of the contracting company, right? Supposedly. And she calls up the contracting company and says, is Ralph there? Whatever his name was, is Ralph there? And the lady answers the phone, "No, no." And she says, "Well, when will you be back?" He says, "There's no Ralph here. There's no Ralph works here." And she says, "Well, no, what are you new or something? Because he does. I know him. He does." And she goes, "Honey, I've worked here for 35 years. There's never been a Ralph."
That is a crazy, crazy story. And I think it's so amazing because it really shows that reality shifts and anything can happen. In your friend's reality, that guy worked there, and then time shifted and he didn't. I mean,
Yeah.
and he did this all gratis, right? Didn't he not charge her for this as well?
Oh, no, nothing. Zero. Nada.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. Well, she has all, I know who you're talking about. She has incredible stories, but I think it really can happen for each of us. I mean, Bill and I could tell these kinds of stories for weeks, the different kinds of things that have happened to each of us. We're also always on the path of raising our consciousness and having strange things happen on purpose anyway. But we only have 5 minutes left. Would you share with people what's one little thing they could do to maybe have one of these experiences? Maybe spend a little time, maybe change something that would create a miracle in just 5 minutes. No pressure.
5 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to teach everybody today. All these stories sound like, oh gosh, that's crazy. And that's not going to happen to me. But what I can tell you is I'm you. I didn't believe any of it, and nothing like that would ever happen to me ever. So what the technique here to begin your shift into this alternate reality where your thoughts start to become manifest is very, very simple. And want you to simply close your eyes, and whatever you are having as a judgment, as an assumption in your life, whatever you're assuming, begin to let go of your assumption. Just let go of, I know what that is. I know how that is. Maybe it's somebody in your life. Maybe it's how you feel about you. Let go of the assumption that you're wrong or they're wrong, and begin to allow others to be, do, and say as they wish. When you do this, it makes you free. It makes them free. And then think about everything you're grateful for. The gratefulness that you have enough food to eat, enough good drink, that you have a working body, that everything, your digestion, your hearing, your sight, everything about you is working. And with this, it will begin to elevate you. You're going to need to spend a little bit of time doing this. Take your time. Do that. Let yourself feel the gratitude. Once you have spent 15 minutes feeling gratitude for everything that you can think of, keep in that state of gratitude. And then the thing that you want to change, put your attention on that. Just, I would like this. I would like that. But stay in the state of gratitude.
That's amazing. So right on time. Thank you for that, Bill. Also, guys, if you really want to bump up your manifestation game and have these weird things happen to you, cognomovement.com. Join us. You can change perspective instantly, for real, only every time. It's amazing. So thanks for sharing all your cool stories with us, Bill.
Yeah. And if you really want, you got 2 free ebooks at cognomovement.com. One of them is Suffering is Optional. The other one is The Tiny Book of Big Manifesting. Go download those for free. Cognomovement.com. That's cogno, like cognitive, movement, all one word, cognomovement.com. And you can download those 2 free ebooks there.
All right.
Thank you.
See you guys all next week. Thanks for being here with us on the New Life Perspective radio show. For more information or to find out more about the work that Bill and I do, please visit us at cognomovement.com or email us at info@cognomovement.com. See you again soon.